Today, I wanted to share with you about how the law of coherence allows us to cultivate a daily awareness and mindfulness practice of energy and how energy organizes in our lives to be able to work with that energy to achieve greater levels of flow, of well-being, of creativity and empowerment, and how this relates to being an extension of source and aligning your vibration to be in what I call divine expression, which is to be an expression of the qualities of the divine, of abundance, of beauty, the things that we very much appreciate in nature. Because what's really interesting about beauty is that we find beauty through the symmetry of nature. And symmetry can be found in a flower. It can be found in a face. There are sacred geometries and patterns in nature that show us that there is an overall organizing principle to energy. Because everything in the universe is made of energy, including us, we see that what we find and appreciate as beautiful in nature, it's almost like it's built into us to appreciate that pattern. Developing conscious awareness of this allows us to understand coherence. The law of coherence is the way that energy organizes itself in a natural system. These patterns, such as the flower of life, which shows us that a baby's cells divide in that pattern in the womb, the same way that the universes are formed and the same way that the plants grow. There's a coherent organizing principle to energy. There's something called a electromagnetic field around every single bit of matter in every single size. Our body has an electromagnetic field. Our cells have an electromagnetic field, as well as our atoms and beyond. And every physical object has its own field. Every living being, stars, planets themselves, this entire planet has one. And it's the shape of a torus, or it's called a toroidal field. And that is how energy here circulates. So now I'm going to bring this to an understanding of consciousness that is practical and embodied. So when you understand that the heart itself produces a field of coherence, heart math shows this, and that when your heart is in harmony with source, with the source energy within you, you are in harmony with the symphony, the song of life. Everything that we perceive is made of vibration. So because there's a natural organizing harmony to how nature creates, we can align ourselves with the coherence. And this also relates to the meditation effect, which is also known as the Maharishi effect, where groups of meditators were shown to come together and meditate, say, on world peace. And in their areas, the crime would measurably go down because they are creating a group coherent field around a shared intention. So now we're relating the power of coherence with meditation, right? Which connects you through your field to everything, because we are all connected. And now bringing in the power of intention, which is also what Joseph Murphy called prayer as a technology. And prayer as a technology is understanding that every single question contains the answer. Every problem is emblematic of the solution. But the problem that launches the rocket of desire, as Abraham puts it into another vibration where your source is calling you to actually line up and become coherent with the energy of the solution. So how do we apply this in our daily life? Well, this is what daily meditation does. This is specifically how I feel morning meditation has completely transformed my life. I've been meditating pretty much every day. Earlier on, I wasn't as consistent, but in the more recent years, every single day for about 10 years now. And it has completely transformed my life, because my life before was very chaotic, and I felt very scattered, and I felt that I was having trouble focusing. That's like when I was a kid, I grew up and they diagnosed me with ADD. And then when I started learning these tools of mindfulness, when I was a teenager, I took myself off the medication and I started to learn mind-body medicine. And I started to understand that these internal states are being generated from within me, and I can presence myself in the moment. And I was able to heal. I had really intense, severe anxiety. I was very depressed, and I was having trouble focusing, and I was able to actually begin to heal those things internally. What was so interesting is that I realized that there wasn't anything wrong with me. It was that, and this happens too with a lot of starseeds coming in and like indigo children and stuff like that, is that you're like incarnated to shift the system so you don't fit into the system, and then it creates this tension between you and the world when the system tries to change you to fit into it. But then through that contrast, you learn your spiritual gifts, have all of these useful perspectives to share your medicine and tools with other people. So it's actually all a blessing. But again, in that chaos, it creates this kind of tension for us to gain new perspectives as consciousness coming into this human experience. As we come into alignment is coherence, because what I realized through that meditation process is that as you're syncing up with infinite intelligence and you're meditating daily, it starts to actually shift your consciousness in a very profound way, where you become more steadily coherent. And coherence can also be accessed through stillness, because if you think of it like this, the divine blueprint is the coherent pattern of your true self, and it's already there. And say it was underneath a body of water and you just couldn't see it because your thoughts are constantly rippling the water, your thought patterns, and that when you have stillness, it's just like the water just clears and now you can see the pattern underneath the water. It's like that. It's like that it's already there, right? So when we say it's already here, it's already done, you're transferring to the parallel reality. Well, what's really happening is that there's a clearing that's going on where you're seeing the abundance, where you're seeing the divine inspiration, where you're having a realization of what's already there. Like, all the potentials are already here in the quantum field. Everything is happening simultaneously. Consciousness itself is non-localized, right? We're just focused into a space-time reality right now. But when we understand that we can come into alignment and come into coherence, we can access that version of ourself that is already abundant, already healed, already whole, and already thriving. It's this aspect of all of our gifts and all of our medicine, all of our talents, all of our connections with the people, with our tribes, with our communities, with higher intelligence, with inspirations, with synchronicities that come into your life at the perfect moment with exactly the message that you need. See, when you are aligned with coherence, you're like in a circulating field like that, where all of these things are being divinely orchestrated. And yes, they always are. Of course, the universe is always in balance with itself. But specifically, when we have a daily practice of aligning ourselves with that, with the patterns of nature, aligning ourselves with with Source and tuning in and meditating, that we become cooperative with the forces of balance in the universe. And we start to see more of that coherence. And that's why having a steady practice creates a foundation for flow state. That's why I think if maybe you're already meditating, maybe you're not meditating, maybe you meditate sometimes. But if you were even just to try this out, meditating for at least 15 minutes every single morning when you wake up, I think that can be just as powerful as longer meditations, perhaps to anchor you into a steady daily practice of mindfulness and awareness. Could be even more powerful than just doing a longer meditation once a week. And I'm not saying don't do that. I'm just saying, I'm not telling you what to believe, but I know in my own experience that going deeper is very powerful, but also having like every single day tuning in. And it's like, there's something about, if you have an aversion to meditation, that meditating for a shorter amount of time is a lot easier to. So it's like, if you're only meditating once in a while for long periods of time because you have all this resistance to it, and then you finally do it and it's like this amazing thing, but then you don't do it because you're avoiding it, because, you know, it's much easier to actually create a consistent practice of shorter sits. And then through the law of compounding, which is those smaller increments add up and compound. And it's like having that daily practice is key for tuning ourselves into that coherence, because then we're bringing it into our way of life. You know, it's not just something we do every once in a while. It's something that we're living, we're leaning into it. And the idea of this as well is with having our daily rituals, having our own personal practice, like journaling, moving our bodies, expressing our creativity, writing, making content if that's your thing, making music, singing, making these videos, you know, going up. And also this relates to the practical magic of creating sacred spaces. When you create your own altars, you can pick elements that each represent the intention of what you want to work with. And then as you organize them, they're working in their own field of coherence. So it's also, as we align with coherence, we walk the beauty way. We create more beauty in our life, and we improve and leave everything kind of better than we found it. And there's a lot of satisfaction. So in developing that foundation for our flow to come through. Well, I think that's about it for today's video. So thank you so much for tuning in. And if you liked it, hit the thumbs up. Love to hear a comment on what you think of coherence and consciousness. What are you practicing? Also, subscribe if you haven't already, and hit the bell to get notified for the daily videos, helping you to tune into alignment. Peace.